Welcome everyone to the podcast. Me and MJ are here to kind of discuss everything gaming related, honestly, coming from the things that we enjoy. I know for me, and I know Michael as well, we got plenty of Minecraft related stuff. We have plenty of other games that we enjoy. I know for me, I think Minecraft and Hytale are probably high up on that list, and I enjoy that a lot. How about you, Michael? What do you like?
Yeah, I hope to be able to just sit down and we're just going to have a talk. We talk a lot about games. So, hey, why not record it and have other people be able to listen as well if they want and put their 2 cents in and their comments. So, for me, I love gaming. Gaming keeps my brain active and I love to solve problems that go along with gaming. So, you know how we are. We love games, right? And so that means that we're going to do things like, Minecraft and now Hightail. So if people want to know what our experience is for Hightail, then pay attention.
It'll be coming up, right? So, Michael, maybe you can start us off just with this initial episode, getting the introductions together, people kind of get an idea of where we're coming from. Why don't you kind of give a little bit of a history as far as gaming for you, um, and maybe what you've found and enjoyed over the years?
Yeah, sounds good. I go from way back. I am plus 50, so I have to go back into the era of pretty old games. I know that back when I was one of the junior network engineers at a local university, we would get together on lunchtimes and we would jump on a server and we would play games. At the time, it was, Quake was big at the time. We used to have servers that we'd run Quake. Of course, it's pretty violent, pretty FPS type of games. That's of course where it was born, right? Was Quake, and the environment. It was where you could build it if you wanted. So I actually ran servers at the university, and people loved them. People from all over the world came in and just jumped on our servers, and I had some that were themed. One ran nothing but capture the flag all the time, and so it would just reset. It would reset the whole game environment every like 20 minutes, and everybody would jump in, pick a side, and you'd go at it. And it was a lot of fun to just be able to distract your mind off of the problems of the day for an hour, and then you went right back to work after that. So we'd jump on, for lunch, stuff like that. But I played other games too, and eventually I got, where I didn't want to play Quake anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I would play other things. I definitely like a strategy and trying to figure things out, like problem solving. So not so much FPS type stuff, but I loved that kind of stuff. I also managed things for a while, and so it was like, can I get this to work? That was my question. Can I get this to work? So I would do things like we had a VAX system, which if you know what a VAX system, it's a mini computer. So it's made for the student information system, or the HR system. So I got games running on that. I got NetHack running, and so you could explore dungeons and look around for things and try to solve, the mysteries and whatever. But yeah, Duke Nukem Command Conquer was very big back in my day, and we used to do that all the time. And I got into, at the time, I was, a network engineer, but I would also do system administration. I also got into security, so I was able to understand the underlying layer of things, how they worked. But we'll get into administration of servers later. But that's pretty much where I came from, and today it's just, pretty much love Minecraft. It's been, the last 10 years have been just great being able to play Minecraft, jump into an environment like that where you've just basically a big Lego environment, you know, everything's mutable, everything changeable, just go around and do and build and do whatever you want with friends. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's just amazing. And then the server side aspect is perfect for me. Being able to put the server together is perfect. So more on that later, but that's pretty much my intro.
Very cool. Now, before I get into my stuff, there's another game that you play pretty regularly, and it seems to be like your secondary game,
Oh, you
and
talk
that's
about the long
The
dark.
Long Dark. Yeah, why don't you
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about The Long Dark? What do you love about that one?
it's definitely part of the problem solving. It's for survival. It is a survival based on like you are basically gonna die, right? So, but it's a matter of pushing that day off as far as possible. So, how do you do it? How do you cook? How do you survive? What do you build? What can you find? You end up. I call it the going through other people's cabinets simulator, right? Because you
Yep.
end up doing that a lot because you're like breaking into a house and then like going around the cabinets, because this is a Armageddon type situation where you've got nothing and you're just going around looking for cans of peaches, and stuff like that, just to survive another day, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I love that game. And the environment's brutal. So you're always on the clock, like you're always on the clock. You're dying slowly. It's interesting, definitely interesting.
Very good. Yeah, I when we were talking about this, or when I was trying to think of things to talk about, that was one of those things. Like, I got to get Michael to talk a little bit about The Long Dark, because I know that's another one of his big games.
You know it.
So, as far as me and my history with gaming, my gaming really started in the '90s. Uh, I remember my cousins having a PlayStation One, and that was kind of like one of the starts. And then I forget when, but my dad ended up getting one of those Windows 98 computers from Gateway, I think, or something like that. They got it off of a QVC when they had like a thing on there for it. And I remember getting into some of the gaming that way. I remember playing a Star Trek game that I really enjoyed. I think it was like Elite Force. It's like kind of like you were talking about. It's kind of like a first person shooter style, but it's Star Trek based, and we were into Star Trek back then, so we really enjoyed that. But growing up, I definitely leaned a little bit more towards consoles. So mostly the PlayStation scene. We did a lot of just different things like Crash Bandicoot, and I'm trying to think. Spyro was a big one back when the PS1 was around, and then PS2 was huge. That was also really good. I usually got a hand-me-downs from my cousins because I couldn't really afford to buy one, and my parents weren't going to buy one for me.
Was Mario big back then? Are we talking about the Mario time frame?
You know,
Was that
it was, but because I didn't have anybody around me that was a big Nintendo fan, except for my uncle who had um, a Super Nintendo. That's what he had, a Super Nintendo. But other than that, like my experience with Nintendo was very little to none. It was mostly just PlayStation. But my dad did at one point get us a Game Boy Color when they had come out, and we loved that thing. Played a lot of Pokemon and different things like that. We just absolutely fell in love with that little handheld game system. Played quite a bit too much, like standard when you get into something like that. But yeah, and then gradually, I think over the years, especially I'd say the last 10 years, 10 to 15 years, I definitely got more into computer PC based gaming. I think my wife is the one who introduced me to Minecraft. She had said, "Hey, I have this friend of mine. His name is MJ. He is a big uh, server host for this game, Minecraft, and she's like, you should try it out." And of course, at that point, I didn't have a computer, but I had a PlayStation 4, so I ended up getting the PlayStation 4 version just to try it out. And I'm like, okay, I didn't really get it back then. I didn't really understand it that well. I'm like, how is this so popular? I mean, it's very blocky looking. But then later on, as I got a little bit more into the computer stuff, then I eventually got into trying it out more, and we ended up watching a lot of YouTubers. Like I got into this kick where I'm like, okay, I got to see if I can understand this game. There seems to be so many people loving this game. So this was back in 2000, and I want to say 2014 is when I started playing, I believe. And yeah, so that was just basically my initial interaction into Minecraft, and then it turned into a real enjoyment of it. And I definitely enjoy the creating of custom stuff in relation to that too. I've always liked to be a little more creative, even though I'm not that great with it. So I look forward to messing around with more of that stuff in the future. But anyway, hopefully that wasn't too long of a description, but that was kind of gives you an overall history of my experience with gaming in general.
forgot about your experience with consoles, because
Yeah,
I don't console. So
yeah.
yeah, to me they're not changeable. So you pop in a cartridge and play. I'm like, that's not a game. That's not a real game. And as far as I'm concerned, the only real Minecraft is Java Minecraft. Sorry.
Understandable. I completely understand that,
So when
especially
you
after
finally
getting
came
it.
over, it was like, yeah, we got it.
Yeah. Well, the controllers are a little different from console over. Playing with a controller is not, in my opinion, as good because I did both. Keyboard and mouse makes a lot more sense to me. It's a lot
You
more
got more
comfortable.
buttons.
More buttons, yeah. Just in general, it feels a little bit better, which I never thought I'd say growing up as a console guy, always with the controllers, but here I am. All right. So, MJ, I thought maybe you could describe a little bit more about your experience with servers, because obviously you've been doing this for quite a long time as far as just servers in general, but even especially getting into something like Minecraft. So, do you mind sharing a little bit on your experience with that?
Sure, and that also ties into work as well because I do that as part of my work is I administrate servers. We have basically a team of like 5 people that manage all of the Linux servers in an environment. And we manage the PeopleSoft and Oracle and the databases, the websites, and just everything. There's probably 500 servers that we have to manage. Some of them virtual, some of them real. It's a mixture of things that we have to manage. So when you're trying to figure out, booting off of, booting a server and whatever, it's the ultimate in like troubleshooting, like playing with things and taking things apart. To me, that's just the beauty of it. And so I started Linux back in, you know, college days. I was playing with it. I would download Slackware, going back that far.
Slackware.
I think Slackware is still around, but you don't see them much anymore.
Hmm.
But they were very popular back in the day. And I installed Slackware 99A. That was the alpha version. And you took disks, floppy disks, and it took about 20 of them, and you could copy programs onto it, like parts of the operating system onto it. And you had to load each one, or you had to go download it from an FTP site, and you had to download each individual package, and then you had to unzip all that and be able to like boot off your system, and then you had to compile your kernel. I mean, these are old days, right? You don't do that stuff anymore, but I've been there, I've done that. And, so it's pretty natural for me to just administrate servers, web servers, whatever. And Minecraft server is just another server. And so whenever I found out that you could have a Minecraft server, not just playing it myself, and enjoying it, when I found out, when I connected to my first server and saw other people playing and you could play with them, it was just an experience that was amazing. Like, they had these plugins loaded that were like you could teleport places and you had little tricks and little things. I was like, I gotta have that. That makes life so much easier as far as like playing the game. It pulls the good parts of the game, the fun parts, and lessens the bad parts, right? So it's just part of min maxing your fun.
Yeah.
And so that's what all that was about. And so I was like, I've got to do that. I got to do it. I got to have my way, my own server. So I ran it. And then, pretty soon other people like you, like your wife, you would connect to my server and enjoy it. And I'm like, that's great. Having my friends on my server is just total joy for me. If I can make you guys happy, put programs on there or plugins that will make your life easier and then make everything fun and pull the fun out of it, then I'm so happy to do that.
I think I'm probably the biggest proponent of asking you to add things to the server.
Yeah, can you get this to work?
Hopefully, I haven't
You
given
really
you too
want
much of a
that?
headache.
Come on. No,
I had fun doing them though. No, I know I appreciate it, and everybody does. The amount of work that goes into servers is more than I think people fully realize or comprehend. It's definitely something that we all appreciate.
yeah. How about you?
All right, so for me, I don't really have a lot of technical background. Like work as I'm more of a construction worker. I'm not a technical side of working. But for me, I also have always grown up loving art related stuff. I always loved drawing and doing different things like that growing up. Never been great at it. I'll throw that right out there right away. Not anything amazing with when it comes to that stuff. But I always just enjoyed doing it. And we'd follow some tutorials. Sometimes we would watch some things on YouTube. And it's kind of like a follow along, try to learn how this art program works. And we'd have fun playing around with it. But of course, for me, when I started to learn a little bit more about Minecraft and just figuring out that this game can be pretty customizable, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. So I was able to start to add a couple of things. Like I tried to change some mobs. Games like this are fantasy based. A lot of times they have different things like magic related and all that. For me, I've always leaned more towards the side of I'd prefer science fiction related stuff. So for me, I'm like, okay, can I alter some of this and make it more sciency? And the fact that Minecraft gave you that capability to do that was phenomenal to me. And I truly enjoyed being able to do that. So I would create little resource packs where it would change the skins of some of the mobs in the game to make them more science fiction related. And of course, that led me into a rabbit hole of finding, oh, you can, unfortunately, it's a bit more complicated than I probably had time to really dive a lot into. But you could really customize models and different things using different programs, capabilities. Sometimes a little bit of programming is involved, which, again, that's not my thing. So trying to learn programming was interesting to say the least. But I was able to kind of accomplish a few things here and there, nothing extensive. And I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And of course, because you don't have tons of time, you have, life, you have work. And then when you do get time, free time, it's like, okay, I have free time. I kind of want to play a game. It kind of makes it so it's kind of hard to actually do some of these little projects that you've wanted to do. I think maybe there's a little room there for just figuring out a balance. Maybe I can spend a little bit of time every week if I can figure it out. It doesn't have to be long, but just enough to get a few things accomplished. I might try to go for that at some point. And then if I can, that would be pretty phenomenal. And of course, I think one nice thing is the program that they use now for modeling things for Minecraft is also now being utilized for the new game that we just started getting into, Hytale. And there's a lot more flexibility I've come to learn from doing research with Hytale. It's a little bit easier to make alterations. Of course, it does still require a little bit of figuring things out when you're first getting into it. I'll be watching tons of tutorials to try to get this figured out. But adding mobs, as well as items. Items will be easy. Mobs are harder because you also have to factor in animations, which is a whole different level that I haven't really dived into too much yet. But theoretically, I could take some of these things I'm doing in Hytale that I want to do with Hytale, and I could also implement them into Minecraft using different programs that they have for, I think it's called EMF and ETF, and it utilizes Optifine's model, I forget what it's called exactly, but it allows you to do unique model related things. So if you have Optifine, it'll work most likely if you have using something other than Optifine, you can download these mods, EMF, ETF, and they allow that as well. So anyway, it's kind of an interesting world to get into, and it's kind of fun to do. And potentially, if you get somewhat good at it, you can actually make some money off of it too, which is always fun. But we'll see how that goes in the future for me. But Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit what's the differences right now trying to run a server for Hytale compared to Minecraft?
There's kind of, that's one thing I was gonna say to both of us. It's like neither of us have played Minecraft much in the last week and a half, right? So what are we doing? Well, Hytale, yeah. So we're gonna get our thoughts on that later. But yeah, the server is very. It felt like the early days of Minecraft where
Mm.
things were just being figured out, and someone could come in and take over your server and do all kinds of bad things with it. And so that's my biggest worry, because back in the early days of Minecraft, that happened a lot. People would come in and they'd grief your server. Back in that day, we didn't even have the word grief yet. We didn't even know what that was. People would just come in and destroy things, and they just did it maliciously. So back in the day, we were trying to find mods and plugins that would, help us to just get our friends on and allow them to do things, but then not these other people, not anyone we didn't know, or have some kind of system where they could alter some things but not alter everything or whatever, permissions and things like that. So, that's missing right now in Hytale. Some of that granularity of being able to say this person's an operator, you can do, but you can't make groups of people to say, hey, this is a normal person and I want them to be able to teleport around, but I don't want them to be able to just change anything. Can't change some of the way the parameters of the server. But then there's a group that I want to be able to change the parameters of the server.
Mm.
And later we're going to probably get into things like buying and selling, an economy, and all that kind of stuff. It's just not mature yet. They're starting to come out with the mods for like economy and things like that, being able to buy and sell and trade. So it's coming, but it's going to be one of those things where it's probably going to take way less time than Minecraft did.
Hmm.
But you still have to go through those steps, those learning curves, people developing things, they're going to build off that or this or whatever.
Do
So
you
people
think
build off each other
Minecraft?
and we'll get there.
Yeah. Do you think Minecraft kind of like paved the way to make these things a
Yeah,
little bit
for
easier?
sure. For sure, because anybody, and that's part of it is like just like you said, where you're using those tools, right? And now they're made for Hytale. So exactly. I mean, it would be a huge mistake for Hytale to come out with stuff that was way different, right? That'd be a huge mistake because then people would have to learn a whole new software or a whole new way of thinking about models, how to store them on disk and things like that. You'd be way off if you had to relearn how to do things. I mean, I get that you're probably going to watch a few tutorials, but it's all going to sink in like, oh, okay, yeah, that's the same as Minecraft. We just did this. And even, what is it, Blockbench? Blockbench is
Yeah,
the thing, right? So,
Blockbench is awesome. I've played around with it a lot.
yeah. And so, it's a perfect marriage right there. To me,
Hmm.
that's
Yeah. Obviously, we're going to get into probably talk a little bit more about Hytale next episode, because I feel like as of right now, that's kind of been one of our big gaming focuses. We're trying to get into this game, learn a little bit about the game, try to expand things. So obviously, we're going to get into this quite a bit more in the future. But did you have anything else you maybe wanted to add today, Michael, as far as what people can expect, as far as what you'd like to talk about or anything like that?
I suspect we're going to be talking about Hightail pretty soon
Yeah,
and quite a lot because as we both learn it, we're going to figure it out. We're going to have opinions. Right now, my
always
opinion is like
opinions.
it's kind of cool, right? Like to me, it's a little bit what Minecraft should do better. Hytale
Mm-hmm.
does.
Mm-hmm.
The atmosphere is there, right?
Yeah.
The quirky mechanics are gone.
Mm-hmm.
The quirky mechanics of Minecraft are not existent. It looks very much natural. Like say something spawning in a cave. You're a rat in a cave. Well, in Minecraft, that wouldn't happen. It would have to be
Mm-hmm.
dark. You knew
Mm-hmm.
how it happened. You knew exactly how it happened because it was
Yeah.
dark and 4 mobs spawn. That's just how Minecraft is. And so if it's dark, they're going to spawn there. But in Hytale, it feels like it's more tailored. Like there's a reason that a single rat came in right here. So you can feel that. You can feel that they went for atmosphere.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I like that too. I will say it does. There's a lot less you can predict, which is both interesting. I like it, and also at the same time, it's kind of. I think some of the things that make Minecraft so good is some of that predictability because you can create automations and things essentially in game, which help. But obviously, that's that's a big topic we can get into later.
Down the
Uh,
road. Yeah.
yeah, down the road. But I can tell we're gonna have a probably a good amount to talk to here, MJ. So I'm looking forward to definitely digging into gaming in general. Probably in the beginning talking quite a bit about Minecraft and Hytale and maybe some of those similarities or comparisons that we like to make. And just to say this, we know they're two completely different games. We're not trying to hold one up against the other in a negative way. They both have amazing features, each of them. And Hytale is very much more designed towards that RPG style, that adventuring style.
Both fun.
Minecraft, yeah, and Minecraft is just as good, just in different ways. So it's fun to kind of see the differences, but also the similarities in those. But very good. All right, Michael. Well, thank you very much for talking a bit about this tonight, and we'll see how episode 1 goes as we get into that, and we'll discuss among ourselves too about what our topics will be for this next one. But definitely looking forward to doing this again.
Yeah. And I hope people like it. People enjoy it. Just hearing us talk about the stuff we do.
I hope so too. Make this worth it, right?
All right. Thanks
All
for getting
right,
it together. Appreciate it.
no problem.
I have been MJ,
And I
and
am
that's been
Blue.
Blue.
Till next time.
All right.